Have you ever wondered about the history and benefits of fermented foods? Let's take a journey back to the origins of these ancient culinary traditions. Fermented foods have played a vital role in our diets since time immemorial. The earliest evidence of deliberate fermentation has been unearthed from pottery vessels discovered in China. These artifacts, dating back to a staggering 7000 BC, were used to ferment an array of ingredients including rice, honey, and fruit. But let's ponder this. Could the production and consumption of fermented foods have started even earlier? It's highly likely. Picture this: our ancestors storing food in caves or earthen pots. Without refrigeration, these foods would inevitably undergo spontaneous fermentation. So while we credit the Chinese with the first known instances of intentional fermentation, the practice probably started as an unintentional yet beneficial side effect of food storage. This brings us to the fascinating process of fermentation itself. In simple terms, fermentation is the process where alcohols, carbon dioxide, and organic acids are produced by microorganisms, primarily from sugars and under mostly anaerobic conditions, for the production of energy. Now you might be wondering, why ferment food at all? Well, the beauty of fermentation lies in its preservative power. The accumulation of alcohol and organic acids, and the associated increase in acidity, inhibits the growth of other microorganisms in the food system. This reduces the rate of spoilage, giving fermented foods an extended shelf life. But that's not all. While the primary function of food fermentation revolves around safety and longevity, fermented foods have also been linked to numerous health benefits. From the lactic acid bacteria discovered by Elie Metchnikoff in the early 1900s to modern studies on gut health, fermented foods have long been considered a boon for our well-being. So, the primary function of food fermentation revolves around enhanced food safety and extended shelf life. But as we'll discover in the coming scenes, the benefits of these ancient practices extend far beyond preservation. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the world of fermented foods. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly happens during the fermentation process? Well, it's a fascinating dance of biochemistry and microbiology, with microorganisms taking the lead. These tiny life forms, first discovered back in the 1670s by Antony van Leeuwenhoek, are the silent heroes of the fermentation process. So what exactly is their role? Picture this. You have a jar of cabbage or a vat of grapes, both packed with sugars, and you introduce these microorganisms into this environment. These microbes, primarily yeast and bacteria, set to work, breaking down the sugars in an anaerobic process, which means it happens without oxygen. As they consume these sugars, they produce alcohols, carbon dioxide, and organic acids. Now, this might seem like a random assortment of byproducts, but each plays a crucial role in the fermentation process. Alcohols and organic acids, for instance, are not just waste products of these industrious microbes. They are natural preservatives that increase the acidity of the food, creating an inhospitable environment for other, potentially harmful microorganisms. This is why fermented foods have such a long shelf life. But the magic of these microorganisms doesn't end there. The carbon dioxide they produce is responsible for the delightful fizz in your kombucha or the rise in your sourdough bread. It's these byproducts of fermentation that give fermented foods their unique and beloved qualities. Initially, when microorganisms were discovered, they were seen as agents of spoilage and disease. But as we began to understand their role better, we realized that they were not villains, but rather unsung heroes. They were not just spoiling our food, but preserving it, extending its life, and enhancing its flavor and nutritional value. So, next time you enjoy that tangy sauerkraut, that bubbly beer, or that creamy yogurt, remember the tiny microorganisms that made it all possible. While initially seen as agents of spoilage and disease, these microbes have played a vital role in food preservation throughout history. But the story of fermented foods doesn't end with preservation. They have also been associated with health benefits. This brings us to the fascinating work of Elie Metchnikoff, a name that might not be familiar to you, but one that has left an indelible mark on the world of fermented foods. In the early 20th century, Metchnikoff, intrigued by the potential of food in promoting longevity, turned his gaze towards the diet of Bulgarian peasants. He observed their robust health and longevity and began to connect the dots. The common thread? A diet rich in fermented foods, particularly soured milk. Now, this wasn't just a case of correlation equals causation. Metchnikoff was a scientist, after all. He conducted experiments to understand the nuances of this relationship. What he found was truly groundbreaking. The lactic acid bacteria, or LAB as they're often called, present in the fermented food produced what Metchnikoff termed as disinfecting bodies. These were beneficial to their human host, improving health and potentially extending life. Imagine that. The humble soured milk, a staple in the Bulgarian diet, was found to be a powerhouse of health benefits. It was acting as a natural probiotic, thanks to the LAB cultures. These cultures were not just surviving the journey through the human digestive system, but they were thriving, contributing to a healthier gut microbiome. But that's not all. These disinfecting bodies were also inhibiting or competing with harmful microorganisms, essentially acting as a line of defense for the human body. So, the Bulgarian peasants were not just enjoying a tasty meal, they were also fortifying their health, one sip of soured milk at a time. This discovery by Metchnikoff was a game-changer. It was the first time that fermented foods were scientifically linked to positive health impacts. It set the stage for further research and opened up a new realm of possibilities in the world of nutrition. Thus, the association of fermented foods with positive health impacts dates back to the early 1900s. So the next time you enjoy a serving of yogurt or a slice of sourdough bread, remember, you're partaking in a tradition that's deeply rooted in history, science, and health. Let's delve deeper into how fermented foods can benefit our health. Fermented foods are a treasure trove of health benefits, and this is largely due to the intricate dance of microorganisms that take part in the fermentation process. These microscopic powerhouses can transform ordinary foods into nutrient-dense, health-boosting delights. So how exactly do they do this? Well, there are three primary ways. First, these foods have a direct nutritional value, which is amplified by the act of fermentation. The process can unlock nutrients that would otherwise be difficult for our bodies to access. For instance, the fermentation of soybeans into tempeh enhances the availability of proteins and minerals, making it a nutritional powerhouse. Secondly, fermented foods provide nutrients that promote the growth of indigenous gut microbes, those friendly bacteria that call our digestive system home. A healthy gut microbiome is essential for overall health, influencing everything from digestion to mental well-being. When we consume fermented foods, we're effectively feeding these beneficial bacteria, helping them to thrive and maintain a healthy balance within our gut. Lastly, the microbes in fermented foods have a unique ability. They can survive the journey through our gastric system. This is no small feat, considering the harsh, acidic environment of the stomach. Once these microbes reach the intestines, they can become part of the gut microbiome or inhibit and compete with less desirable members of the gut community. This adds another layer of protection for our health, as a diverse and balanced microbiome is key to keeping us in tip-top shape. In essence, fermented foods are not just about preserving food or enhancing flavor, they're about nourishing our bodies at a fundamental level. They provide us with essential nutrients, support our gut health, and help maintain a balanced microbiome. It's a testament to the wisdom of our ancestors, who may not have understood the science, but certainly recognized the benefits. Fermented foods, therefore, have a multifaceted role in promoting health. So, what does this all mean for us today? Let's take a moment to digest all we've learned about the rich history and bountiful benefits of fermented foods. Originating from a simple need for food preservation, these foods have evolved and grown in significance over thousands of years, from the ancient pottery vessels of China to the myriad of fermented foods we see on our supermarket shelves today. Fermented foods have been a part of human diets from time immemorial, with evidence of deliberate fermentation dating back to 7000 BC. This ancient process, driven by microorganisms, is primarily a means of producing energy, but it also creates a hostile environment for spoilage-causing bacteria, extending the shelf life of foods. But it's not just about preservation. The story of fermented foods is also one of health and longevity. Remember Eli Metchnikoff, the scientist who noticed the long lives of Bulgarian peasants and attributed it to their diet rich in fermented foods? Metchnikoff's findings sparked a century-long exploration into the health benefits of fermented foods, and we've learned so much since then. Fermented foods are a veritable treasure chest of nutrients and bioactive compounds produced as a result of the fermentation process. They feed our gut microbes, promoting a healthy gut microbiome, and they can even survive the journey through our gastric system to become a part of this microbiome. The disinfecting bodies Metchnikoff discovered in his experiments are testament to the power of fermented foods in our diet, and so, the legacy of fermented foods continues. In a world where food safety and health are paramount, these foods retain their relevance, offering both preservation properties and a host of health benefits. Whether it's the tangy kick of sauerkraut, the creamy goodness of yogurt, or the umami punch of miso, fermented foods are more than just flavorsome additions to our meals. They represent a millennia-long journey of human innovation and survival, a testament to our relationship with the microscopic world, and a beacon of hope for our health and longevity. From ancient pottery vessels to modern diets, fermented foods have a rich history and a promising future in promoting health and longevity.